Alright, so now that we have our starter code, in this lesson, our goal is going to be to set up our connection to the Mailchimp API. And to check to make sure that it's working properly, we're going to do a little ping test, which is straight from the Mailchimp docs. So let's go to our VS Code again. And if your server is still running from the previous lesson, let's go ahead and stop it from running. And we're going to actually open our docs. So let's go back to here, to our Marketing API docs, specifically this page here that says Marketing API Quick Start. So if we scroll down, we'll see a couple of things that we'll need to get connected with Mailchimp. So first of all, we need obviously to have an account with Mailchimp. So I'm assuming you already have one. Next, we need to generate our API key, so our Mailchimp API key. All right, so let me show you how to do that. So if you go back to your Mailchimp, go to the top right corner here and go to Profile, and then go to Extras and API keys. Now I've already set mine up, so I don't want to scroll down more here, but you'll see there's this section, your API keys, and in here you'll have a little prompt saying add an API key. So go ahead and click on that and follow all the steps, and that should give you your API key. Okay, now make sure you copy it and paste it somewhere, because you will not be able to see the full key again in the future for security reasons. So now that we have our API key, let's go back to the docs here and keep scrolling down. Now the next thing that Mailchimp tells us we need to have is the client library that we're going to be using to make our API calls. So we should already have this installed when we ran npm install in the previous video. So if you followed the video like I showed, then it should be in here in your package.json. Okay, so make sure you can see it here. Now if you did not do or follow the previous video, you will have to copy and run this command inside your terminal. So for me, that's installed, so I'm going to keep scrolling down. And here we have a little code snippet to make our first API call. So this is what we're going to use to do our little ping to Mailchimp. So let's actually go ahead and copy this. Now make sure you have Node.js selected, because you have different languages available here. So we're working with Node.js, and we're going to copy that. And then we'll go into our actions.js, which should be empty right now, and we're going to just paste it in. Now let's remember at the top to put use server, because whenever we use server actions in Next.js, we have to make sure we have this directive at the top. Okay, and in here we're going to have to obviously put in some values, our own values for these two fields, right? So API key, this is where you're going to paste the API key you just generated in Mailchimp. So I'm going to paste mine in here in just a second. And in here we need our server prefix. Now, the server prefix is very easy to get. All you have to do is go to your Mailchimp and look at the URL at the top, and you're looking for the first 3 characters here. So for me they are US7. For you it might be something different. So make sure to just copy that and then go ahead and paste it in here. So I'm going to just say US7, and then I'll get my API key here. Now don't worry about the fact that we currently have all the sensitive information inside this file. We will eventually change this, but right now we're just doing, a ping to Mailchimp, so this will be perfectly fine for our purposes. So everything else should stay the same. So let's just go over what's happening here. Okay, so first of all, we're importing the SDK, so the library that's provided to us by Mailchimp. So we're requiring it and we're storing it in this variable, Mailchimp variable. Then we're configuring that variable. So we need 2 fields here, API key and the server prefix. And then we have a little function, so asynchronous function called run. and then we have a constant response, await Mailchimp ping get. So we're basically making a request to Mailchimp, and then we're storing the result of that inside of the response, and then we're logging the response. Okay, and if everything goes well, then we should be expecting to see this response right here. Okay, let me just zoom in a little. So it should say health status, everything's chimpy. So if we see this response, that means we're successfully connected and communicating with the Mailchimp API. So let's see if that's working for us. So I think our code here is good to go. Make sure you save the file. And in our terminal, we're going to write node app / and the name of our file, which is actions.js. And click enter. And as you can see, we have a successful message here. Health status, everything's chimpy. So make sure you have the same thing. Now, just to be clear, when we run this command here, we're just running a node command and we're specifying the location of the file that we want to run, right? So I put app / because our actions.js is inside the app directory. And if you're not getting the same response, please double check your credentials here. So make sure the API key is all correct and make sure your server prefix is correct. So that's pretty much it for this video. We just wanted to make sure we have a successful communication with Mailchimp API. And in the next video, we're actually going to be changing some code in here. We're going to be making our own function for adding a subscriber to our Mailchimp list.